Okay, this will be going over the general scope of the project. So we have access to a Postman API, which is called POS. And inside the API, we have the loan officers, the branches, and the information that goes with each of them. Um, right now, this is just going over the loan officers. There's also branches that we have to pull in. Right now, they currently have an old website, which they're not happy with the design. So we're rebuilding um, the site in WordPress and then just pulling all the data from the API into WordPress nightly. Um, so this is the old website. You don't have to worry about this, but just so you know, this is sort of what the new website's going to look like. So you just have an idea of where we're going with all of this. And then I have all of the fields already in WordPress. I just have not stylized this yet. So everything in WordPress is ready. All the fields are ready. Everything in WordPress works right now. The only thing we have to do is get the data from the Postman API and have it nightly go into the WordPress um, database using PHP curl and updating the MySQL database. So I'll give you access to this development server. If you prefer to work locally, you can make a duplication of this development server and you can work locally. And once you're done with the plugin, we can move the plugin back to this development server to test and make sure it works. Or if you prefer, you can work directly on this development server. Um, then it would probably be better if you pulled the whole entire WordPress environment to local, though. That way you can make database backups as you go along. Um, so I can't give you access to the database on the dev server, but I can give you access to SFTP. So it's probably better that you take this entire thing, pull it to local, this entire WordPress website. So far I have all of the loan officer fields, the WordPress field, and then the database, the API call that goes with each of the fields. So these are all custom fields. And then we are using some regular, like the WordPress title. That would be a combination of first name, last name. These are all pretty much one-to-one. These are all one-to-one. The only thing that's not one-to-one is the taxonomies, which we talked about. And basically for the taxonomies, we are just going to use taxonomies to relate the branches to the loan officers. So if you look on our loan officers, you can see that, for instance, this Bobby Boo test, this is his loan officer ID. So the loan officer ID is pulled from, you can use the get loan officers or get loan officer. And then when you do that, when you pull all loan officers, you can actually get the ID for every one of the loan officers. So basically, we assign the loan officer's ID from the postman. This ID, which goes to this creates a taxonomy. And then also, if you look, this ends in ADD. If you look on the branches, and he's in the Dover, New Jersey one. This you can see that he is also assigned to this branch, and it's actually probably the best process is actually going to be if we go and we get all the branches. You can see that each of the branches has the loan officers assigned to them. So basically for the taxonomy, we just need to get every single branch. Then we need to create an array with all the loan officers assigned to that. That array needs to get added as taxonomies here, okay? Then once we go to add the loan officers, we're basically going to say, okay, Here's all his information. We're first going to look, does this taxonomy ID exist? It should already exist. If so, just assign it to here. So now the user and the branch have the same taxonomy, so that when I go to his user page, I can see that he is assigned to the Dover NJ branch. And you can also see him here listed as well, because that's how we're relating the two taxonomy. Oh, that's how we're relating the two together, is we're just using these taxonomies to keep them all together. I've already got the WordPress website already doing all of that. We just need to figure out a way to get that from the Postman into here. One other thing that makes this project slightly more difficult that I didn't specifically mention in the project overview is if we go and look at our locations, we can see that one of the fields from the API is what state it is. And the way that it's working on the actual items of the loan branch is you can see there is New Jersey branches, North Carolina branches, MD, Maryland. All these are actually going to have to be put into WordPress by hand. These are not in the API. But what we end up doing is when we look at the API branches, we need to see um, what state it's assigned to. And then we actually can't just put the branch in as a regular item. We have to put this branch as a child of the parent. So basically, I'll write this out for you, but basically the logic will go like this. If we're pulling in all branches, we got to look at the state which the branch is in. If state is NJ, then put branch as a child of NJ. If state for Fairfield is NJ, put them as a child of NJ. And when I say child, this has no parent, but in WordPress with Dover, if we look, it's chosen the NJ parent. So, and that's related with this field right here. So basically, we're going to look at this field. If this field is equal to a parent page with the same field marked, then we need to make this a child of that. That's one other more tricky requirement. And then their API is not fully built, and this will come later. But another thing that we have to do is this phone number. I think we have to get the mobile phone number, and I believe that actually it's not stored underneath the loan officer's it's not stored in the loan officer's page or like data. It's actually stored, and this is one thing I have to look up. I think it's actually stored underneath account. So we'll basically have to get the loan officer's ID, go look at, it's either their account or it's underneath of site configuration. I think it might be site configuration, but we get loan officer ID, then we go and we look at the site configuration, get their site configuration, and inside their site configuration, it tells us what their mobile phone number is. So that is one hard thing that's not a one-to-one field. It's going to be a get the loan officer ID, look at the loan officer's site configuration, get the loan officer's mobile phone number, and then that is going to go here. But most everything else is one-to-one. So like this email address, for example, is part of the loan officer's field, and I do have access to that as well. We have the access to the actual API. There's the desktop app for Postman API, but there's also like just the direct access link to get to API, which I will show you like where you can find all those fields and stuff. I think that goes over everything. So basically, we're going to get all the branches, pull them in. The branches have the loan officer IDs. The loan officer IDs become a taxonomy. Then we pull in the loan officers, and the loan officers, we look at the loan officer ID, see if it has a matching branch for the taxonomy. That way we have the relationship to the two, and then we just match the fields. So that ultimately it's going to be very similar to how this website is, except for we're going to be doing it in WordPress. It's going to look similar to this website. And the last thing is they have not finished this yet, but we will have a ability to get the loan officer's own personal website URL. That's not in the API yet, but they're building that in. That'll be the last step that we have to do. So in the end, it's not super complicated. It's a little bit of parsing. Most of the fields are one-to-one. We do have that taxonomy relationship between the branches and the loan officers, and we do, for some of the loan officers, have to go into their site configuration, get their email address out of there, excuse me, their phone number, their mobile phone number out of there, and then assign that to the field too. So that's a little bit of extra code as well. So, but and then obviously create the cron job at the end. You run all this stuff automatically, but while we're just testing, we can just manually do that. So that's the whole project that we need to do for right now.